Good evening and a warm welcome to the fifth day of the Adult Faculty Development Program on Securing the Future, Cybersecurity, Forensics, and the World of Blockchain, organized by the Department of Computer Applications, MES College, Marambali. This FDP has truly been an enriching journey, offering engaging sessions and practical insights from distinguished experts. With each passing day, our horizons have expanded, and in this evening, we look forward to delving into yet another exciting dimension of cybersecurity. As you may all recall, yesterday's session was also handled by Dr. Mahalingam Pia, who laid a strong foundation in application security in the cloud. Today, he is once again with us to take the discussion forward with a session on security of third-party integration with the cloud. A brief introduction about our resource person. Dr. Mahalingam PR currently serves as a Senior Manager Pre-Sales at INAP Information Technologies Private Limited. His professional profile is equally impressive, with 14 certifications in leading technologies include AWS, GCP, Azure, Oracle Cloud, GitLab, and Kubernetes. In addition, he has authored nearly 25 publications in areas such as machine learning, system programming, networking, and cybersecurity. Dr. Mahalingam is also actively associated with reputed professional bodies such as IEEE, ACM, CSI, ACCS, and CSTA. Yesterday, he walked us through identifying common flows in cloud applications, adopting best practices for securing cloud-native environments, and drawing lessons from real-world security incidents that reveal both effective strategies and pitfalls to avoid. With this, let us warmly welcome Dr. Mahalingam Pia to lead us into today's session on security of third-party integration with the cloud. Thank you and welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back in this gathering. So, as mentioned in introduction, yesterday was kind of a foundation for what we are going to talk today, because yesterday the discussion was more about how cloud can be made secure in terms of our applications. But when we talk about cloud-based applications, an equal role is played by third-party integrations or third-party services that that need to work along with our application. So even if we try to lock down our application to the best extent, unless the third-party service also behaves in the same way, we won't be able to say that our application is secure in any way. So today what we are going to do is we are going to look at how third-party services can be secured, or integrations can be secured when we use with our cloud applications. So let's start the discussion. So yesterday I would like this to be participative. So similar to the format we had yesterday, there will be some problem statements in between, case studies in between. So just to make sure that everyone is walking with me as in the session. So today's objectives, we would like to start off with an understanding of what are the security risks when we have third-party integrations, because that sets a context for the rest of the discussion. And as part of the discussion, we will also look at some real-world security incidents similar to yesterday. Yesterday, the focus was on configuring and probably securing your application as such, but today the real-world incidents are more on how integrations failed as part of security. Then once we have a grip of what risks we are looking at and how some examples of how it happened, we will look at security frameworks which talk about integrations and some best practices. And we'll also look at some risk assessment techniques, like what should we look for specifically when we do all these things. And towards the end, we will also look at how to design secure integration architectures. So today's about extending the application we have in our hands into something better or even larger. So I've been talking about third-party integrations, applications, platforms. So what is this all about? What is the reality in this particular thing? So when we say third-party services or third-party integrations, it's mostly for larger applications where everything cannot be done in the same piece of software. Or in other words, everything need not be done in the same piece of software because somebody is already doing it better. So a typical example, there are many websites which have a button called sign in with Google. So why do we ask Google to help us with signing in? That's a third-party integration. We are, regardless of the application, we actually sign in with our Google account. So why do we do that? Because Google is already doing a good job of authenticating people. So instead of us recreating that wheel and writing an authentication from scratch, why not simply use that service or integrate with the service and ask it to authenticate the user for us? Okay. So that is where the authentications become very important. And statistically, this following the same statistics yesterday, which is the numbers from last year, the average enterprise uses 364 plus cloud services with integrations, and 80% of data breaches nowadays involve third-party accesses. So that is a big problem. Okay. And what kind of integrations do we normally have? We may have SaaS to SaaS. For example, some of you may be aware of Slack. Slack is a communication platform which we very popularly use in the industry. It's like a Discord, but it's more closed in terms of how people work with it. It's a collaboration tool. And Salesforce is a very popular SaaS platform. It is used as an ERP service all across the world. So there are integrations like Salesforce to Slack, wherein your Slack data can be accessed by Salesforce, including the usage statistics or even user statistics, user credentials, everything can be shared between Salesforce and Slack. Okay, so one typical example. Then there are certain integrations like API gateways and microservices, wherein our application is built as what we call as microservices. So the application will be built in small pieces and the pieces talk to each other. So there it may not even be a third-party API, but even our API whom we are associating with. So that's also a possibility. Then cloud storage connectors, a very interesting scenario nowadays, wherein I'm not sure how many of you use Claude AI now. Claude AI has an option to integrate your Google Drive and directly read files from the Google Drive. It's a very good feature, but there what Claude is doing is it is having a third-party integration with Google to access its files. It's a cloud storage. Yep. Then identity providers, that is our software. If anyone's software can actually use sign in with Google by connecting to Google's SSO provisions. So that's already allowed. And then there are third-party monitoring and analytics. For example, earlier, not even earlier, even nowadays people do that. But one classic example was there was a platform called Fabric, not Microsoft Fabric. There was another Fabric, which was built into Android applications. So the Fabric will actually create a heat map of where people touch, how people scroll to understand user behavior, and it saves it in their server. And eventually we can the developer can actually download that statistic. That tool was actually used to understand which part of the application is most interesting for the user. So these are all monitoring analytics tools, and even in the cloud there are lots of monitoring and analytics tools which we use with our applications. So all of these, can we write these services ourselves? Yes. But do we need to write that? No, because somebody is already doing it. So that's where third-party integrations become very important. And why does having a third-party integration cause additional concerns? So traditionally, when we have an application that is self-sufficient, for example, even a cloud application, for example, an LMS that sits in your server or on the cloud, everything is self-sustained. It does everything. There we follow a model called castle and moat. Moat means it's the water body surrounding a castle to secure it, okay, so that nobody can just enter directly into this. Okay. So your application is a castle and the moat is the entire security layer outside it. So there could be firewalls, there could be access rules, there could be VPNs, there could be 10 different things. And unless someone has access to all of these properly, they can't enter. Okay, so that's a typical model. But now what's happening is when we start using these third-party services, the responsibility or the security is now distributed across a lot of places or people. Okay, and this particular integration scenario, it will be a constantly changing scenario as well. So today the API has one particular rule, tomorrow it will have some other rule, some other payload, some other parameter. It could change. So this, it becomes extremely dynamic. So we are actually poking holes into that application and exposing it to the outside world. So it's no longer just under our control. We are building 20 bridges around the whole castle and expecting nobody to just come and attack us. Okay. So that integration or the exposure is what causes additional concern. So that the key challenges which we typically see in terms of API or third-party integrations are shared responsibility confusion. So who is responsible? Is it me who is responsible for the security? Is it the API provider who is responsible for the security? Is it both or is it none? So that's a big confusion that comes all the time. Who is responsible? Then the second challenge is API security gaps. The API itself may be unsecure. It will be reading our data and just exposing it through plain text. That's a big problem in many APIs. Then IAM complexity. So yesterday I gave one case where I had to integrate an AWS application with Azure OpenAI services. So if you remember what we did, we actually had to create a separate role, a separate credential, a role with only the necessary permissions, then an API key that encodes all of these roles together, a separate policy, and then attach this API key to AWS. So there were some 10-15 steps which we did. It makes things secure, but it's extremely cumbersome. We took 5 days to just do the integration. It was an extremely long process. So that is complex. That's a challenge. So sometimes people just take a shortcut. They will do something else. So that's a problem. Then data sovereignty issues. So once you have an API or a third-party service, who owns this data? Okay, so for example, the case of Claude I told you, Claude is reading data from Google. Who is responsible for the sovereignty of that? Is Claude supposed to be careful that nothing changes? Is Google Drive supposed to be careful that Claude doesn't make any change? So who is the sovereign owner of that? And lastly, visibility and monitoring issues. So we need, not everyone knows what all APIs are running in the background, what all services are using your data. And unless somebody is transparent, they would know it. And how to monitor what goes through that. So these are all problems that we typically see in terms of third-party services. So the last 10 minutes, what we saw was third-party service bring a lot of problems. So what kind of threat landscape are we looking at? First and foremost, let's not look at the details in very extended length, but we'll just look at the main things. The OAuth token hijacking. So this is one very interesting problem that happens. Okay. So for example, when suppose we have an LMS. Okay. The LMS actually has a sign in with Google. So it's a good thing. People can sign very easily. But the person who designed the LMS actually stored its response or the access keys, a sample which I showed yesterday, as part of the JWT token, which again I showed you yesterday. The email was there, the credential was there, the name, the family name, everything was there. So as far as that application is concerned, it is not very bad. It does the job, it does it very well. But if somebody else is actually eavesdropping on that device, what happens is they will get the JWT token from you. Okay. So that's also not bad. But the problem is if this application is exposing its Google IDs or the Google credentials as part of JWT, that third party who just took your JWT token also gets access to the same thing. That remains a problem. That remains a big problem. Because that person can now integrate that JWT with their own application and they can just log in as you without a problem. Because JWT contains a Google ID, that Google ID is actually generated by Google against your account. So anyone with that valid Google ID can access that account. So that's what Google does. That's what all OAuth providers do. So they can do that. So that is one of the most classical ways of actually hijacking this. So this JWT is actually stored in the third-party API itself because that is generating the token. So the third-party service, if it is not secure enough, your token goes to someone else. Simple. And there are things like redirect URI manipulation and things like that, wherein that third party can actually control what happens to the token. So there are a lot of things that can be done. The second one is API vulnerability. So the API itself is not written properly. As I said, the username and password just sent as plain text. That is a big blunder, but that can happen. Okay. So that can have excessive data exposure, or even the API has no proper rate limiting. Somebody can just ping the API 25,000 or 25 million times and just break the API and make the API unresponsive. So the API can be equally bad. Then supply chain attacks. If the third party vendor is compromised, yesterday at the end, we saw an example wherein Node.js libraries got poisoned by a third party, malicious third party. And who uses that thing will be affected with their data getting leaked. So that is something which is happening right now. That is one of the most common ways of attacking people now. And finally, data leakage. The API is written, API's databases are not secure as per our philosophies. Unencrypted data at rest, in transit, that API accessing something else, that service A, which is used in our application, actually uses service B for something else. Service B is not running properly. So that chain can just go indefinitely. So data leakage can happen at any point. So why this is important is this is a piece which is not under our control, but we are still forced to use it, or it's beneficial for us to use it. So how do we handle that? That threat is what is important. So I will give you two case studies now. First case study happened 5 years back. It affected a platform called SolarWinds. Okay, SolarWinds is a very popular platform. And what they do is, it's an IT observability platform. Or in other words, it is a platform that is supposed to avoid these things. It's an observability platform. It keeps track of what's happening in your entire network. And ironically, in 2020 December, that platform was the one that got affected because SolarWinds is extremely popular. Many people use it to monitor their infrastructure. So somebody decided, rather than hitting the infrastructure, why not just attack SolarWinds? And they did. And more than 18,000 organizations who were using SolarWinds were affected because there was a malicious code injected in their service. So SolarWinds has a platform called Orion, and Orion is it's actually a Docker container. That container is normally attached to the customer service, and it just keeps getting analytical data or monitoring data. It's just a simple observation. So, and somebody just added malicious code into Orion and pushed an update. So all 18,000 plus organizations who are using this platform got affected. So malicious updates got pushed to customers. And it was a backdoor that was built into it. So in essence, anyone who is installing SolarWinds Orion unknowingly exposed a backdoor port to the attacker, and that person was actually able to log into the host device or the host server and do whatever they wanted with this. And interestingly, multiple access methods were established. There was an SSH open, there was a telnet line that got opened, there was an API endpoint that got opened. So there were about 5 or 6 lines that opened. And by the time somebody identified this and shut down the SSH port, the attacker will actually simultaneously start the telnet port and just keep running their show. So it was an extremely orchestrated attack, and it affected a lot of people. And the reason for that was Orion itself was not a strongly built software. There were very evident weaknesses in the platform that got exposed on that day. And there was no code signing verification. So that this is a very important concept nowadays. That is, whenever we get an update, that update has to be signed. Signed in the sense it is not a physical signature. It could be an MD5 signature or a digitally signed one. MD5 or hash or SHA-5, SHA-256, anything. Unless it is properly signed and verified, it should not get installed. That is something installers do nowadays. That is also one of the reasons some applications are not allowed to be installed by your own operating systems. The signature doesn't match, or there is no signature. It'll ask you whether you are sure of installing it, because it cannot guarantee anything. Okay. So what happens there is, if SolarWinds actually created this platform, they will also generate the MD5 signature for that and upload it in their website. So when this platform is installed, after downloading, our system also creates an MD5 and verifies it with the other one. If they are matching, it means that whatever we got is actually from the provider, from SolarWinds. Because even if a bit changes, MD5 changes. So we cannot modify this platform without affecting MD5. If this update came from a third party and they have injected malicious code, the MD5 will be a mismatch. It will say that signatures don't match, you cannot install this platform. That is what happens now. And they had a bigger problem wherein they didn't write that platform monitor the third-party updates properly. So that 2 and 3 are related. There is no code sign verification. And the fourth one was extremely important: overprivileged access to integrated systems. It is a monitoring platform. It only needs to read metrics. This application was having enough privilege to write metrics, modify the network, everything. So that was a bigger problem. That was an overprivileged access. We can see that a lot in today's phones also. You will have a calculator app that requires permissions to make phone calls and send SMS. Why does it need that? The calculator's only job is to do calculations. Why does it need to make phone calls? It doesn't. So access privileges are something which are very important when we have third-party services. So the outcome from that attack was a zero trust approach. That is, don't trust anything. Make sure there is a verification. Then ensure continuous monitoring and segregate all third-party accesses together. Everything should pass through a single channel. If there's any doubt, kill that update there itself. Okay. So this is a typical case that happened. SolarWinds, an application that was expected to alert people during these kind of leaks actually got hit with a leak. Then we will think SolarWinds, it is a normal application. It won't happen to larger ones. Microsoft had this problem once. Microsoft had this problem in 2001 when they were winding down a particular Microsoft Exchange installation. So there it was a cloud integration vulnerability. The cloud connector was not secured enough. Microsoft Exchange was, and not was, it still is, a very popular file server. That server had vulnerabilities that got exposed as part of this. Okay. And what happened was somebody else could log in on our behalf into Microsoft Exchange. That's a dangerous thing. And there were 250,000 servers that got affected in the initial day or the initial hours itself. They were entirely vulnerable to this because of two things. There is something called as server-side request forgery, SSRF, wherein this at the server side, somebody can impersonate our request and make it think that it is a legitimate request from us and gain control, SSRF. And the problem was SSRF exists in many things. Microsoft Exchange Server had a bigger problem wherein an authenticated request could modify files, including the credential file for that user. Or in other words, I can log in as some XYZ and override their credential details with my own credential details. Or in other words, I can change my username and password by impersonating another person. I can I can modify their username and password by impersonating them. It's not a good thing to happen. Okay. And directly start the remote connection from there. So that name itself was proxy logon. So somebody else logging in instead of us and starting to do things. And the bigger problem was in 2021, Microsoft Exchange was connected to Office 365. That is our Word, PowerPoint, Excel, every file was potentially exposed into that. So these are all problems that happened. And in all these cases, if my application was either using SolarWinds or Microsoft Exchange, no matter how hard I try to secure my application, it is of no use because the platform I am talking to is actually compromised. They can just come in and kill everything in this because they got too much permissions. So what happens in those cases is we need to take control of what these services can use or do in our application. Okay. So for example, let's assume we are signing into Zoom using our email address. What all permissions will Zoom typically need if we are signing in with Google? Can anyone tell me? Suppose I'm using Zoom. What all permissions does it typically need if I'm signing in with my email? Sign in with Google. Or what all should it do within Zoom? Within Gmail, sorry. First of all, it needs to get my email address from Gmail, right? Because it needs to make sure who is signing in. Probably my profile picture, because in Zoom, they need to show my face if I'm switching off the video, just like what's happening now. What else does it need to read or write? What else does Zoom need to read or write to? Can anyone guess? My email, my profile picture, then what else does Zoom actually need to do? Take a wild guess. There is no wrong answer. Anyone? Email, yes. You need email.
Maybe camera access or audio.
Yes, but does it need Gmail's information or my Google information to do that? No, right?
No.
What details does it need from Google if I'm signing in from Google?
Location, maybe. Location.
Location probably, absolutely. Location probably, because there are certain regions where Zoom has a dial-in connection. Location, obviously. Yes, that's a good one. Yes. Anything else?
Maybe contact details. If
Which one?
we contact details, if we share with, I mean,
Probably, yes. Yeah,
contact details, email details.
probably, yes. We forgot one important thing. Calendar. If I create a Zoom meeting, it's saved on my Google Calendar, right? Calendar, read and write.
Yes, yes.
Yes, calendar is needed. And probably, depending on the kind of license I have, I may have some access to, or the Zoom may have some access to my documents also, in case I need to share some documents. But now I don't think Zoom has that kind of a permission requirement, but uh, probably email, name, profile picture, my calendar, that's enough for Zoom to work. Okay. Similarly, the example of the Android app I told about. What permission does a calculator need? It doesn't need any permission. You're just using it for computing something. Okay. So we need to be mindful about what kind of permissions we have given our applications. Whether it's on your device or on the cloud, it doesn't matter. We are talking about tons of third-party services. What are we letting them do to our device is something which we need to be always mindful of. Okay. Yes. So now let's do a quick check. So your university is now implementing a new LMS. Very good thing. It's now, it used something else and now probably it's switching to a different variant of Moodle. Yes. Somebody has a question, please. Yeah, I'll just finish the question in the meantime. So that LMS is now going to work with Google Workspace. That is, people can actually create assignments and submit assignments as Google Docs, document collaboration. Then virtual classes are taken via Zoom. So there is a Zoom integration. Plagiarism detection automatically done with Turnitin, and some student information system is incorporated with it for grade synchronization. So now the question becomes, I have 6 questions for you. What are scopes? Scope means the permission which I need to give. Does each integration require? So let's see, what OAuth scope does Google Workspace require for the LMS? Google Workspace will have to, the LMS will have to read and write files from the workspace, because our assignment submissions are all via Google Docs or Sheets or even slides, whatever, Google Drive. Zoom will need access to whatever we just told about. My email address, my name, my profile picture, and my calendar. Turnitin will need, what permission will Turnitin need? That's an important thing. What permission will we need to give Turnitin for this LMS?
Documents.
Read permission. Yes, read the documents. Perfect. You need to read documents. You don't need to write anything into that. But, so here comes the problem. Where is my document? Where is
Local drive. Either
could be
pen
local
drive.
drive or even Google Drive. There is a Google Workspace, right?
Yeah.
So Turnitin now got indirect access into Google Workspace because I integrated Turnitin and Google Workspace in the same platform. Right? So that is an OAuth scope which we need to be mindful of. It can actually read my Google Drive via the LMS. So there are indirect scoping that can happen. Then potential security risks for each integration. Google Workspace, it's a read permission, but somebody can actually read any document from mine, which I may or may not share because it's getting a drive read access. Zoom, my credentials can be exposed because it's reading my email. Turnitin, same set of risks as Google Workspace. It's about read additional information. And for the last one, a potential security risk is very important. It's going to be exposing a student information system. So my entire student record can go out if it is not secured properly. So there are 6 questions. I think I'll share the slides with you later, so you can just go and check what will be the scope you need to look for in each of them. So at this point, is there any question? Okay, so let's continue. So this is a simple example for Google Workspace and Zoom. So for Google Workspace, you may need the Drive APIs, the Sheets, Docs, the user profiles, all that. The risks are document can be read, user can actually be impersonated because somebody's drive can be accessed by the other, and that can leak data. Then the compromise impact is like there will be access to collaborative documents. So in essence, if I have a shared document along with the read access, the shared document is also readable by another person. So these are all risks that can happen with Google Workspace. For Zoom, we need meeting creation, user management, recording access, because recording may need to be saved to Drive. So if that's the case, Zoom has a larger permission for writing to my Drive. Workspace only has a read permission. Zoom will have a write permission to my Drive. That is even dangerous. And the risks are meeting hijacking, unauthorized recordings. People can just place any document into my folder if things don't work properly. Okay.
Sorry, sir, to disturb you. Can you repeat the last part again, please?
Which one?
The Zoom permission. I mean, it allows
Yeah.
to.
Zoom integration typically allows you to do all this. It can read our calendar, it can read our profile information, it can write to our Drive, and it can read from our Drive. Past recordings and everything. These are all allowed in Zoom. In fact, I think a couple of years back, Zoom bombing was a very dangerous scenario, and people actually suddenly stopped using Zoom for a while because of that concern. There were a lot of people who actually shut down their Zoom accounts and close the integrations because that thing was dangerous at that point. But then they fixed it, thankfully. So that's a huge scope. Okay. So the critical, yes. Because I was also a very big Zoom user and I temporarily shut down my account at that point because of that. And so considering all these dangers, the critical considerations we need to do when we have a third-party integration is give the least privilege. Only expose whatever you need to expose. Second point is extremely important, regular scope auditing. Okay, or periodically you should check what all you're exposing to third parties. Okay. Then token rotation, that is beyond a limit, you should be required to sign in again. Otherwise, somebody who has access or somebody malicious who has your token can actually keep using it endlessly. That should not happen. Periodically, you should be required to sign in again and give access again. And for API calls, make sure there's an anomaly detection. It should be able to block if it doesn't detect a proper one. These are all important for third-party integrations. And actually, if you go to your Google account, accounts.google.com, you will actually see a list of all integrations that actually are available in your account. I'm just trying to see if it's possible. Please give me a second. Yeah. So I'll just share this tab. So this is my Google account page, right? So there is something called as data and privacy. That's the first one. So here I stop my web activity tracking, timeline tracking, YouTube history is on. Yeah. The info you share with others. This is within the organization. So that's the privacy setting over there. Okay. Location, I'm not sharing too much. And there are third-party services. Look at the services which actually happen. So if I take Adobe, this is just going to use my sign-in. Okay. If I Canva, it'll again allow me to sign in. I don't think I have allowed many people. Yes. Look, fireflies.ai, which is a transcription utility I use. I can sign with Google and it can see my profile info and see and download any calendar entry because Fireflies automatically joins my meetings, even if I am not there. Okay. Otter for the same reason. So that's also a transcription utility. Zoom, what does Zoom ask for me? I haven't enabled recording or anything in my account, so I can just sign in. And what about Zoom for G Suite? Now I have a bigger problem. Zoom for G Suite is part of my Google Workspace. Look at what all it can do. You can see my profile information, run as a Gmail add-on, view email messages. Look at the kind of privileges that has within my Workspace account. You can manage my drafts because Zoom for Google Workspace can actually embed Google Meet, Zoom meeting invites directly into my email. It has a whole slew of permissions. Okay. So that is the kind of thing we are talking about. Here I know what is happening. So this is the audit which we need to do periodically. What all are gaining access to our services or our accounts? So you need to keep a track of what's happening. So here, even if Google makes sure that the entire application is perfect, all I need is a Canva API to expose my credentials and that's it. People can gain access. So that is the concern with third parties. And the major IAM challenge, IAM is identity and access management in cloud integration, especially when we have third-party services, is authentication and authorization. How does the third party ensure that it is me who is logging in and whether I am authorized to do this particular access? There are a lot of methods. So auth 2.0 is the most common one. Then these access authorizations are scoped via SAML and API keys. There are certificates that sometimes come as part of this picture. For example, if you want to SSH into something, you need the private public key and sometimes a certificate. So that these are things that happen. And JWT tokens, obviously, as today, they are part of many authentications. So all of these come with some problems. So common vulnerabilities, that is, there are websites which actually keep my session live if I don't log out. That's a good thing. For example, I just close Gmail. Unless I log out, it may, when I open it up, it will come again. That's a token validity. What if that token is valid indefinitely? In that case, if I log in today, that my Google account will be signed in for hundreds of years if needed. That should not happen. So typically your your tokens should expire quickly. Typically a day or 2 or maybe 10 days, that should be it. Unless you sign in between, it should not be alive for way too long. And there are certain applications which actually slowly creep up their permissions in due course. Initially, they will just ask for the profile information. Then later they will ask for the uh, file access. Then they will ask for calendar. So that creep can happen, which we need to control. And certain integrations that are unused but active. So the problem is we may not realize that thing is actually connected to our account, and somebody exploits that third-party service. They can eventually gain access to us. We may not even realize that it is connected. Okay. And infrequent credential updates, very importantly, change your password or at least periodically, so that even if somebody is logged in, they will be kicked out immediately. So this is typically what we check for when integrating with a third-party service. Make sure there is monitoring. We need to know what each item is reading, whether it failed during that read process, what it did, what it didn't do. It should be monitored. And on a high priority, make sure there is very good authentication. You should be having a proper endpoint security for that. MTLS is mutual TLS, two-way HTTPS communication. That's what MTLS means. All data should be encrypted. Otherwise, somebody can just read your data when it goes to the third party. Input validation. Third-party services should be equally validated to avoid SQL injections or excesses or any such things. They should not be the cause for leaking your data. And in medium priority, rate limiting. So beyond, it should just terminate the connections. It should not be a reason for DDoS. Then have an extensive logging and error handling. Error handling is a very interesting thing. Sometimes when you open up web page, you will see the error log from the server directly. Have you come across anything of that sort? This happens especially in .NET hosted applications. It will say error in slash. It will show the entire error log in that web page. If you look at it closely, you will be able to see what server it is hosting on, what is the port number, which file caused the problem, which line number caused the problem, what is the user name of the platform using this particular web page. So it shows everything. Never expose error messages directly back to the user. Just say error, stops there. So error handling is equally important for APIs. So now we have seen a lot of problems. Now, how do we solve them? I think I spent 45 minutes talking about problems. Let me spend the next 45 minutes talking about solutions. So the solution is zero trust architectures. So don't trust an API. That's the easy way of telling that. Never trust, always verify. Regardless of who the API owner is. For example, even if it's Adobe, you need to verify what it's reading. Least privilege access, only give enough access that's needed. And always assume a breach happened. Okay. Assume every day that a breach happened and just make sure that you are checking your logs properly. This is applicable for all cloud service administrators. So here there are 4 layers at which this happens. The first layer is the identity layer, wherein the API's authentication and authorization are handled. Make sure if that API is used as an authentication API, you need to have MFA to make sure the right person is accessing it. The authentication should expire automatically and then ask you to sign in again periodically. All those things should be managed. That makes sure that whoever is coming via the third party is actually the person we are expecting at the third party level. Okay. Then the second level, device layer. That is how we access that particular thing. For example, you can actually have a local certificate installed. That's there in many software pieces nowadays, especially after remote work started around the world. People are actually accessing these platforms over VPN from their home. How does somebody know that this is the legitimate person or legitimate device on which it is running? So in many browsers, we can set what we call as a local certificate. Unless that certificate is valid, the website cannot be accessed at all. So that's a device level control. And there are companies who issue devices, mobile devices to their employees. There they have mobile device manager installed. So these are all ways by which we can ensure that the device is actually legitimate. So the first level is the person is legitimate. Secondly, the accessing device is legitimate. Then the third level is the network layer. All communications should be encrypted, and the network should be designed in such a way that exposure in one part doesn't affect the other. So that's called micro-segmentation. Network should be micro-segmented. Each segment may contain some services and their data. The next segment will contain their set of services and their data. Don't just keep everything under the single roof. Or in other words, don't put all the eggs in one basket. And the last one is application layer. Keep your access controls proper. The security policy should be properly written. And as part of the application layer, you normally set rules like no third party can actually write to the database directly. That's an important thing. None of these things should actually write to the database directly. They can only call endpoints to update the data. And the endpoint should actually make sure that the update is legitimate. So these are all things which we ensure as part of zero trust integration. Don't think that your API is harmless. Make sure you put all controls in place. And there are regulations to govern all of these. Just a few of them. For example, HIPAA is one of the most common one in the industry. It's for patient data and medical data. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Because in the US, insurance agencies control almost everything. So they have information on all of their patients, their medical records, everything. So HIPAA was established to make sure that data never leaks. And any application which accesses personal data in the US should be compliant to HIPAA regulations. And that HIPAA regulation is a really long one. They insist on how we should architect it, how the data should be transmitted, what is a minimum encryption standard we should use to manage the information. Everything is written in that regulation. Another example is FERPA, Education Acts. For student information in the North American continent, how can student information be handled? How much are you allowed to publish? What are the rights of each student as far as privacy is concerned? It's all written in that. GDPR, again, a very common one across the European Union, General Data Protection Regulation. This is one of the rules to first enforce recall privilege. So, for example, if something is published without my consent, and if I demand that the information is taken back, the publisher should take it back. So that the right to recall was one of them. Any application that uses credit card information needs to conform to PCI DSS standards. It talks about how not to store credit card information on your application. It automatically mandates that CCI should not be stored in the device at all. There is only what we call as tokens that are stored. So, and how the connection should be made, what is a TLS standard to do, and all that is defined in PCI DSS. Across the world, ISO 27001 Information Security Management System is a norm nowadays. SOC 2, again, Service Organization Control, which is more on the people side. How are people using these services? And in India, we have DPDP, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which again is comes as part of the IT Act regarding the privacy of information on the internet. So these are all standards which are available, which insist what can be done and what should not be done. Okay, so now we have seen the risks that can, or the threat that can come, and how to kind of keep track of it. And now we are looking at how to assess whether a third-party integration is going to be good or not. So we use what we call as a risk assessment matrix. So whenever we want to integrate with a third-party service, we assess it with the 4 risk factors. So how sensitive is the data involved? What is the scope of control? How good is the vendor? How complex is the integration? It's a very simple set of 4 items. Okay, so let's take the example. So you saw that I have connected Adobe to my account, to my Google account. If you run it via the risk assessment matrix, what is the risk we see? How sensitive is the data I'm going to expose to it? So there, what is said was my Adobe account is just going to use Google to sign in. That's all. It's only as part of authentication. So what is the risk factor for data sensitivity? Is it public info, or is it internal use information, or personally identifiable information or financial information? Is it low, medium, or high for data sensitivity? What do you think? High. Absolutely, it's high because it's reading my email address. And that's PII, personally identifiable information. So there it is high. Good. Access scope, read only, limited right, full admin. What is the level of risk over there? Is it low, medium, or high? It is using my Google account to log in. Limited right? Probably. Okay, let's go for limited right. Normally it's only read only, but read only or limited right, not beyond that. Yes, it's not having a full admin privilege. We can say it's limited right because it's still logging into my Gmail. So vendor maturity, is it established or growing or a startup? Adobe is not a startup. Adobe is not a startup. Adobe is an established enterprise. There the risk is low. Integration complexity. It's a simple API call. It's only an authentication API. I'm not looking at multiple APIs or anything. Okay. So what is the scoring here? Data sensitivity is high. So score is 3. Access scope. Okay, let's assume limited right. So that is 3 plus 3. Then the next one is 2. Vendor maturity is an established company. So it is 1 or low. And integration complexity is simple API, which is low. So what is the total of all of these? So data sensitivity is 3 plus access scope is 2. 3 plus 2, 5. Vendor maturity is 1, 6. And integration complexity is simple. It makes it 7. So the total risk score for the Adobe integration is 7. It's a medium risk. Okay. But if you assume that access scope is only going to read, then it will be 6, which is low risk. Low to medium. Let's assume low to medium. So here it doesn't need additional safeguards. I just need to make sure that there is a monitoring involved. What is being read or when it's logging in. I just need to keep monitoring this thing. I'm not having a big risk of that. But let's assume something. Okay. So tomorrow, a new company is coming. They say that they have a software that will handle your entire Google account for you. You don't need to do anything. It will monitor, it will control, it will perform all risk assessments, everything in your Google account for you without you interfering in anything, including it can read your emails, it can automatically reply, it can do anything. It's a Google Assistant for you. What will be the risk assessment metrics there? The data sensitivity is extremely high. It's going to access every bit of information in your Google account. The access scope will be, it's full admin because it can do anything in your account. Vendor maturity, it's a startup, it's a new company. Again, 3. Integration complexity, it's deep integration because it's going to read and write every bit of information in your account. The score is 12. So in case that company is coming to you and saying that you just need to sign in with your Google account into that platform and it will take care of the rest, what do you need? It's an extremely high level risk and you need additional safeguards like MFA or logging or anything. So that is a typical risk assessment. Sorry about that. Let's just stop it. So that's a typical high risk scenario. So now let's look at this scenario again. Your university is implementing an LMS. It needs to integrate all of these. So let's take one of them. Let's assume Zoom. What is the risk assessment for Zoom? What is the data sensitivity? What is Zoom going to access? It's going to use Zoom for virtual classes. So Zoom will run as a plugin within your LMS. So what is the data sensitivity? Public info or internal use or PII? Public info. It's either public info or PII. So one of them. Okay. Depending on how deep your integration is. So let's assume it is just going to use your name. Then it's public info. Fine. Access scope. Read only, limited right, full admin. What does it need to access within my LMS? Probably my name and probably my ID. Worst case. It's read only, right? It's only going to read. It doesn't need to write anything into this. Or at least that's the assumption we have. So if this Zoom is to save the recording into my Google Drive, then the game changes. It will be a limited write. But right now, just assume that it's just going to read these things. Vendor maturity. Is Zoom an established one or a growing one or a startup? It's an established company. So again, that is low. Integration complexity, if it is just going to use my name and ID, it is a simple API call. If that is the case, it is just going to be 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 4, a very low risk integration. If my Zoom is going to save recordings into my drive, now what happens? If my Zoom is allowed to save recordings into my drive, the data sensitivity increases because it is gaining access to my drive. It will become high. Access scope will get limited right because it's going to save recordings. Vendor maturity is again established. Integration complexity will have multiple APIs because it is saving to my drive. There will be more APIs. The total becomes 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2, which is 8, which is a medium risk. So depending on the kind of risk assessment you do, you can integrate your platforms. Okay. If you feel that you don't need a high risk assessment at this point, a high risk integration at this point, don't do that. Okay, so that's how you decide if you need a third party platform to integrate to your computer or a platform. Okay. So now you have an of how to do the risk assessment, and now let's look at the standards that come along with that. So I'm just going to quickly brush through this because these are all available on the internet again. So the governing rule for all of these which we are talking about right now, it's the NIST cybersecurity framework, which talks about how to identify cybersecurity risks, how to protect against, to detect them, how to respond to them, and how to recover from them. Okay. IDPRR, which is the acronym: risk identification, risk protection, detection, response, and recovery. Okay. And we have also CSA controlling and ISO 27001, who talks about a lot of best practices which are there in the industry. But regardless of what happens, if we are running an application, we should have a good idea of what the NIST cybersecurity framework says, especially if it is exposed to the internet and especially if there are third-party services running in this. How can we identify whether there is a break-in? How can we identify the risk as part of these? How can we protect against them? So you have minimum privilege, continuous monitoring, and proper authentication. All this should be done. So protection should be there. How to detect during monitoring, what actually says it is a risk or a breach? When do we say that there is a problem? Just because an API reads data doesn't mean it's a problem. What data is being read is a problem. So how do you detect? Once you detect, how do you respond and recover, which is something we saw yesterday: incident detection and response. Within the first 1 hour, what should we do? Within the day, what should we do? And after that, what should we do? So there are different levels of response. It should be ready with the application developer and the application user, so that we are all in control. And a lot of information on IDR. We need to have real-time monitoring. So some examples are API call patterns. If this third-party service is calling API in a slightly different sequence, or APIs it doesn't call, then there's a problem. For example, in my LMS, I'm using just Zoom to get my name and ID. But we see that there are API calls going to Google Drive. Then it is a problem because I never told Zoom to go to Google Drive. That's a pattern failure. You need to do that. You need to check that. Authentication, authorization failures. Then SIEM, Security Information and Event Management. Keep track of all logs. And that is called preserving evidence, which we saw yesterday. So the first one is detection. The second one is collecting evidence and preserving evidence. The third one is the actual response process, where we tell people what happened, why it happened, what we are doing for that, and do the investigation and find the problem. And during all this, there are certain key metrics which we keep track of. Some things are here. Mean time to detection. After the attack occurred, how quickly are we identifying it? Mean time to response. How quickly are we responding to it? The first response time, the average response time, these are all coming there. False positive. How many alerts did we get that are not actually problems, but just suspected to be? That's false positive rate, and regular metrics on security effectiveness. So these are all part of that thing, part of IDR. Whenever we have an application, we have all sorts of tools to do that. Whenever we get a third-party API, we can use a tool called Postman to check if that API is properly working or valid. If we suspect it is not working as expected, yesterday I did mention about this, Burp Suite. Do a full-fledged vulnerability and penetration testing, VAPT, to evaluate whether there is a security flaw. Go to jwt.io, check the response from the API for a JWT token. If there is a token, go to jwt.io and do an analysis of that token. Is there any crucial information or personal information disclosed? We don't know. And fourth one, very popular one, Wireshark, network traffic. Run Wireshark constantly on your network. See if some third party, unknown party is actually trying to read data from that. These are all things which will help us do assessments all across. Okay. So just make sure the authentication is proper, the API is secure, and data is not handled rash, and it should work properly. And after all this, the core is you need to have the implementation roadmap, wherein you have rules and regulations for discovering and assessing the integrations. So, for example, tomorrow, if your LMS needs an actual online class integration, you evaluate the alternatives. Is Zoom good? Is Teams good? Is Google Drive, Google Meet good? Or is there a fourth platform, vConsole or something? So do a risk assessment for each of them and choose the best. So discovery and assessment is most important for API or third-party integrations. Then build the foundation for all that. So build integration points, like release only the necessary information. Make sure your identity or the logins and all those things are handled properly when you send it to them. And if at all a problem occurs, make sure you have your response plan in place. Then in phase 3, you have integrated it. Now set the controls. Test it. Implement the zero trust architecture, that is strict monitoring, secure access, all those things should be done. And the last one is more the last item in phase 3 is very important, vendor security assessment programs, wherein they are re-evaluated every year or every 6 months to make sure they are still conforming to that. So there should be a security assessment done to the vendor. And the last one is continuous improvement. So keep updates properly. Make sure the signing is done. Threat intelligence at later stage, security awareness training for people. So all that should be properly done. So there is an implementation roadmap which we need to typically take to do this. Unless we do this properly, whatever I said yesterday will be just futile, because somebody else can still come through a back door. And nowadays, the industry follows what we call as a due diligence framework. Actually, we went through a due diligence framework for one of our clients very recently, where they asked, it was a 2-hour intense diligence session wherein they asked about how we handle security, how we handle assessments in terms of security assessments, how we are complying to legal and regulatory bodies, and how we are monitoring it, because they were assessing us as prospect partners. So we underwent a 2-hour long due diligence process a couple of weeks back, and that was an extensive one. And we were counting questions. There were 118 questions which we encountered in that particular due diligence session within 2 hours. So it was average of 1 minute for each question. So that is the depth in which many companies do. That is, they make sure that we understand what we are talking about. We do take these things seriously, and we do handle their sensitive data properly. And there are policies written, and there is adherence to policies. So that is a due diligence which we typically do. So looking ahead, so if we look back, we saw what or why we need third parties, what risks third parties bring with them, how do you make sure it doesn't cause problems, how do you make sure the third parties you are using are trustworthy or in low risk or medium risk category, how you build the zero trust architecture around all this, what are the regulations you follow typically, and how we can probably assess it from a managerial level. So if we look ahead, the threat landscape is evolving. Supply chain attacks are increasing, API-based attacks are increasing, nation-state actors, there is international cyber warfare going on, ransomwares are coming in a lot. So these are all happening now. And nowadays we are talking about AI/ML integrations. Yesterday we touched upon that as well. AI/ML, quantum, serverless, edge computing, they are all loopholes as far as security is concerned. So for corporates, how should they be prepared? So quantum, the problem is the even asymmetric crypto systems are no longer secure for as far as quantum is concerned. So they need quantum resistant cryptography. They need to start implementing. In fact, there are banks, not Indian, American banks, who are already implementing post-quantum cryptography techniques. Then AI-powered security tools, mostly for evaluation and monitoring. Typically nowadays, the web application firewalls use these AI models to judge whether there's an attack or not. And interestingly, many of the third-party integrations also go through similar firewalls nowadays to make sure no sensitive data is taken. Enhanced supply chain security measures like signing off the deliverables or the executables, making sure it is the right one, then proper update channels. These are all there nowadays, and zero trust architectures. So never trust, always verify, and keep verifying. So with that, I would like to wind up the session. So whatever we discussed yesterday and today are kind of related. They are two parts of the same process. And then I'm open for questions now. We have around probably 5 to 8 minutes to have questions. Thank you very much.
Dear participants, the forum is open for questions. If you have any queries regarding this session, please use this opportunity.
In the meantime, I'm telling you again, these are all extremely vast topics. So whatever I talked about in the last 3 hours, I mean, counting yesterday and today, it is just a gist of what goes on. So in the industry, this takes months or years to actually implement many of these because the scale is so huge. Just gave you an intro or a description of what typically happens. People who are interested, feel free to explore it further. And if there's anything which you would like to talk to me even after the session, just connect and it should be, I'm perfectly fine with all that. Right. Thank you. So if there are no questions, I will take my leave. Thank you very much for bearing with me for 3 hours. I know it's not easy to listen to the same person for 3 hours. So thank you very much for your patient listening. And if there's anything, just reach out to me. The organizers will have my contact details if needed, and even otherwise, just search me up on LinkedIn. I'm available there.
Thank
very
you,
much.
sir. A very good evening to one and all. As we conclude the first session of today, I take this opportunity to extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Mahalingam PR for his valuable insights on the security of third-party integration with the cloud. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend my sincere gratitude to Mahalingam sir for his highly informative session on the security of third-party integration with the cloud. Sir explained how services like Salesforce, Slack, API gateways, and identity providers make our system more efficient, but also introduce security risk. He highlighted critical challenges such as API vulnerabilities, access management complexities, data exposure, and token hijacking, illustrating them with real-world cases like SolarWinds and Microsoft Exchange. We also gained valuable insights on how to address these threats through zero trust security, continuous monitoring, least privilege access, and regular audits of third-party integration. Sir, emphasis on the risk assessment and compliance with data protection regulations gave us a clear direction for securing our application and data in today's interconnected world. On behalf of all the participants, I thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And really nice talking to the team, and thank you very much.
Dear participants, we will go for a short 5 minutes break and we will come back by 7:30.
Welcome, Sri Lakshmi ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, it's audible. Dear participants, hope you all had a refreshing break and hope all are back and ready to dive in. Let's get ready to move on to our next session. We are now on the 5th day of our adult faculty development program on securing the future, cybersecurity, forensics, and the world of blockchain, hosted by the Department of Computer Applications, MES College, Marampalli. Let's dive into the second session of day 5, offensive security, which promises to be another engaging and insightful experience for all of us. It gives me immense pride and joy to introduce today's distinguished resource person, Ms. Sri Lakshmi Palliyal, a highly accomplished cybersecurity professional with more than 11 years of experience in offensive security and penetration testing. She is currently serving as a senior Red Team security consultant at CPX Abu Dhabi, where she leads complex penetration testing and Red Team exercises for critical government and private sector organizations. Over the years, she has worked with globally reputed firms such as Intercept Data Systems, Deloitte, and EY LLP, gaining rich experience in red teaming, web and mobile application security, source code review, and vulnerability management. She also holds several prestigious international certifications, including CISSP, CCSP, OSCP, and CC, which stands as testimony to her professional excellence. What makes this moment even more special is that Ms. Sri Lakshmi is an alumna of MES College, Marampalli, having completed her BSc in computer applications here before pursuing her MSc in cybersecurity from St. Joseph College, Kerala. Today, we are really fortunate enough to have her with us, and with great pleasure, let us welcome Ms. Sri Lakshmi Palliyal. Over to you.
Thank you, Bisman. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Let me share my screen. Please let me know once it is visible.
Yeah, it's visible, ma'am.
It's visible, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm audible perfectly if I'm...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So thank you so much and a very good evening. I know it's late, like almost 7:30 in India. And I don't know whether this is my last, this is your last session today or else like a winding up session or something. So hopefully we will be dealing with something called Into the Red, a brief introduction to offensive security. Somewhere I will be describing about what is red teaming, what is offensive security, how, what is ethical hacking, what are the different stages in offensive security or ethical hacking, what is the life cycle of it, how we usually do a basic reconnaissance or basic things, what are the tools like we usually use. So I will try to introduce something very basic, but not that limited basic knowledge as well within this limited time. At any point of time, if there is any questions, if any clarification required or any if you are not getting to the point that I'm going with my pace of because I'm basically from Kodungalur, Thrissur district. So I know even I am speaking, my English will be in a Thrissur slang and it will be a little bit fast. I have tried a lot, but still it's same. So if at any point, if you have any question or if you are not getting to the point that I'm discussing, you can interrupt me at any point. So my aim today will be like to deal with the core understanding about the offensive security from little bit of defensive security as well, how the defensive approaches and what is the life cycle, and a little bit of practical glimpses that we actually how we work in corp world, how we work, what we do exactly, connecting with some real world exercises that I have done before or like currently we are doing all these things. So myself, once again, I know Bismin has given me a very very detailed introduction about myself. But from my side, I'm Sri Lakshmi Pallil. As Bismin told, I'm a alumni from MES 2006-2009 BCA batch. And I'm so proud to be part of today because I have been to MES for multiple classes, but not to the faculties. Definitely, this is a very proud moment that I'm taking something, or I'm sharing my small glimpse of my knowledge to the teachers or the mentors that have mentored me, or whatever that the initial knowledge was taken from the same college. So I'm so proud to be here. And I'm currently working in Abu Dhabi, not as a firm called a CPX, but CPX is a consultant firm. So I usually work for the government firms here. And I have been into the industry for more than 12 years right now. And certifications already been told. And once I was recognized as the top 30 women in cyber for like 2020 in ASEAN region. So this is my profile. And if we begin with the session, in the beginning itself, I would like to ask, like, usually I do with some kind of discussion form. So I just want to know, like, or I hope that everyone, since all of you may have heard about offensive security or cyber security. So I will start with cyber security itself from the very basic. Like, cyber security is nothing like the security is provided to everything, each and everything that is connected to the cyber. So whatever that is, even if a single AC or like anything that is connected to the internet, we will say that is a cyber asset. IoTs or anything, even if it is a very isolated environment like SCADA or very crucial nuclear plants with IoTs, everything we will say that, okay, cyber. So nowadays, even a mouse that currently I'm using, this Bluetooth mouse itself is a cyber asset. So we need the security of that perspective. So cybersecurity deals with the security of all these things. And we, we are dealing with offensive security. From the name itself, we are doing all the illegal things in a legal way. I would like to say like that. So because whatever we do is not legal to be performed other than like from my work. If I do that out apart from my work, it's an illegal thing. So we do all those stuff, but we do as part of the entity that needed the most, or like who it's really needed. We actually perform the attacks for them itself. For example, if there is an entity, for example, if we take from like any government entity in our Kerala, like you can take like KSRTC itself, it's an entity. So if we say we will be part of KSRTC itself and we will act as a real attacker, what are the things they can do to their industry to the maximum what they can do, till what extent they can go. For example, is it vulnerable? How long it is vulnerable? Is it possible to exploit it, or what else, or how far we can go through exploit, and what data can be exfiltered, what sensitive data can be exfiltered. So these all things we will assess being with them, but act as a real attacker. And we will tell the entity itself, okay, your system is having this much of issues. You need to patch it before you go live or go to production, or even if you are in production at the early stage or immediate stage, you should patch this. So this is my job, or like this is what offensive security do. So we call it as an authorized ethical hacking. Hacking itself is wrong. Even if we add ethical into it, somewhere it is becoming good, or like we are doing it for good. But authorized means I do have the authority to do that the entity itself allows or appoints me to perform this action. So this is authorized ethical hacking. This is what offensive security. It's a real world simulation. Like I said, if a real attacker comes in, what all thing an attacker can do to that particular entity. It can be via web, it can be via the network, it can be via the mobile application. At any way, what is the loophole he can enter into that entity. So this will be a real world simulation, like we will be acting as a real threat actor or a real actor itself, attacker. And this is a comprehensive approach that it may include penetration testing, it may include red teaming, it may include social engineering, For example, for some entities, we won't find any vulnerabilities or loophole to find it, but always human is the first, or like for human error, there is no patching. Nothing can be done for human errors, or like the information that is not intended to give outside the humans. Of course, like even after like multiple or like thousands of classes, sessions, and awareness that OTP should not be shared till that same attack is happening. So it's not about humans, like it's playing with humans' mind. So convincing the victim is the most powerful attack that can help us to gain access. So that is social engineering. And legal boundaries are critical. Even if we work in an authorized way by the authority, we still have a scope and a boundary that you should only act in this boundary. You should not step out of it. You should not take what that is not intended to. You should not go outside this box. So this will be always there. So you should be inside that legal boundary. This is offensive security dealing with. So red team versus pentest versus blue team. This is what that exact. Yes, Gauri. Hello, Gauri. Yeah.
Excuse me, Gauri ma'am. If you have any queries, the platform is open for you. Sorry, Sri Lakshmi ma'am, you can continue, please. Sorry, ma'am, you are not audible.
Am I?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. So already I said red teaming and pen testing and blue team. So when I said red team versus pen testing is always a part of red teaming. Okay. So it will come inside it, but pen test and red teaming is a little bit like there are a lot of differences between red teaming. Red teaming is simply the real threat actor. For example, we will exploit it if we have a vulnerability. If I say what is vulnerability, for example, there was a recent attack of NPM version exploits aggressively happening everywhere. Like, so there is it's a vulnerability or SQL injection, or there is a vulnerable version, or like which can be exploited. So vulnerabilities are so many. So if a pen tester finds a vulnerability, he will just report it. That's it. He won't exploit it. He won't go further beyond it. He will take a POC probably. POC means a proof of concept we need to give to the client that, okay, your database is this version and this is vulnerable. So just showing that, okay, this database is this version, he will give that. So this is pen tester do. But when it comes to red teaming, it is like we will exploit that vulnerability. We will take the data to the maximum, or we will go inside it, infiltrate it to the maximum till the maximum where we can go. Because a real attacker will never inform any of the victim, okay, you have this vulnerability, you just go and patch it. No. So the real actor is going to destroy that entity, or destroy, or like what is this, we don't know real attacker's induction. Probably it will be destroying the that entity, probably defaming that entity. Money can be ransomwares, so money can be an intention. Personal grudge from an employee that was already working with them. A personal grudge in any cases can be so an intention is a important point for an attacker. So we don't know the intention of the attacker. So we will think like whenever we get access, or like whenever we do a red teaming, we will go the maximum we can go. But unless we think, okay, this will affect the business, or like this is going to take down the business, then we will stop that. So we will never take down the business. So because that's not permissible for us. So this is how it goes. Pen tester and red team. Blue team is the exact, if I say I am the offensive part, then blue team is defensive side. There are some people who monitor 24/7 the network of an entity to analyze whether an attack is happening or not. If an attack is happening, they will block it, alert it, and further it will find a solution for not happening. So this is what blue team do. This is red team and blue team. There are other team called purple teaming. Purple teamings are someone like who will do both. For example, a blue team who monitors and the kind of red team who acts together is known as purple team. And there is a forensic team. For example, if an attack has happened, then what? Even if we do this exercise of red teaming, even if there is a blue team who is alerted, monitoring 24/7, even then there is a chance an attack can happen. So none of the system is 100% secure. We will never say that you are, for example, if you ask me like, okay, you have done pen testing and red teaming 2 days back, will you say that this entity is 100% secure? I will never give them 100% secure. I will only give till the date the report was ready. I will say, okay, this was the issues or your entity is this much of secure. But none of the items are 100% secure, especially in this point of time. So what if an attack happens? Then there comes the forensic team. They will analyze where this attack was happened, how this attack was happened, from where this attack happened, from which IP it was triggered. So many things. This will be analyzed by the forensic team. I hope till this is clear. So when I said red teaming or pen test, there are so many activities that we will perform from the beginning until the end. So reconnaissance is like on the life cycle of this pen testing or ethical hacking. There are so many phases we will do in an organized way. But later stages, when we go to a real activity, real actors or something, that we are not going to explicitly say that we are going through this life cycle or nothing like that. But this is the basic life cycle of how a pen test will happen or a red teaming will happen. The first and foremost is a reconnaissance. Reconnaissance, as we know, for anything, if we need to go to some places also, like for example, if we are planning a tour to some place, we will definitely get to know what is the current weather of that place, how actually going by train or air is which one is good, or like how much time it will take to reach there, how many days we are there, where to stay, what are the easy way of travel there. So many things we will recognize, right? We will try to gather these informations. Same wise, if you are planning for an attack or an entity, we have a reconnaissance stage where we will try to identify or gather the information that is relevant to us, or like each and every information that is available about an entity or a particular point, anything. So we will try to gather maximum information, because a good OSINT or a good reconnaissance helps in a successful attack. We need to know everything before launching an attack, not everything, maximum as possible, because it will launch us in a successful attack. If we are half known, when we are stuck with somewhere, we won't be able to go further. So that's why the initial stage is most important. For example, if there is an entity, we will try to find what is the domain, where is the domain hosted, what is the public IP, is there any subdomains, which are the subdomains they have, what are the public IPs they have, what is their mail server, exchange server, what version they are using in their exchange server, is it accessible freely. So many things. For example, who are the people who working there? For example, if I'm doing an OSINT about MES College Marambali, or like MES in itself. So what are things I can know? What is the main domain of MES? Where is it hosted? What is the IP address? What are the subdomains of MES? Is there any hidden subdomains? Is there then who all are working like in MES? I can fetch all the details from LinkedIn, or like everyone is active in LinkedIn. So I can fetch almost all the details of all the employees who is working, like from a OSINT perspective. If I need to launch a social engineering in a very convincing way, if I need to launch a social engineering, I need each and every response. For example, I need to get access, or I need to know, I heard that MES is building a new web application. I just want to know which technology MES will be using, or which database MES will be using. I have searched a lot, but I'm not getting any information from outside world. So how can I get it? First thing I will do is like, I will search for the IT team who is working for MES. So probably there will be an internal team who is internally developing for MES college, or there will be definitely a third party vendor who will be working for this. I will try hard to find these things. Usually what happens, if it is a vendor developed products, definitely the vendor name will be there in some part of the website. Somewhere they have coded this somewhere. The vendor name will be there. I will try to identify that. If not, I will try to identify, for example, the teachers or the main people who are working in MES, their connections, which entities are working together. OSINT is a hectic, time-consuming way. If you are launching social engineering attack, OSINT takes a lot of time. So imagine that I have found the person or like the entity who is working for MES college. Okay, I get to know, okay, this person is working on MES college website. In LinkedIn, I can search for the technologies he is expertise in it. Why I need that information? Because if he is the one who is developing the web an application for MES, definitely the technology will be the one which is he is expertise in that. So it's an easy catch for me. Okay, this will be worked in this. And other thing is like, I can approach him as an HR. I can say that I have a very good opportunity for you. If you can share your CV, share with me. And there are so many scams in LinkedIn, not scam. We can collect, like we can just message him, okay, I will send you 5 questions. Just answer to me. I will screen your presence from there. I can ask that, what is your current project you are doing? Which technology you are using? What is the exact things you are using? Most probably, thinking if it is very convincing, he will share all the things. Even though he won't say which client he is working for, he will share all the technicals. So this is how the reconnaissance and social engineering part will happen. There are different kinds of activities. So that's why we need to think in a attacker perspective, like how we can convince the people in a way also. So successful social engineering is also a little bit of convincing power, not little bit, a majority is of convincing power. So this is the first part. We have done all the reconnaissance, like we have identified the assets, we have identified the domains and everything we have identified. So we have gathered all the information. Next is scanning and enumeration. What is scanning and enumeration means? For example, I told you like the technologies I have identified, or the websites I have identified, or the public IPs I have identified. Now what I will do, I will scan for these IPs, I will scan for these public domains or anything that is available to check, is there any other services open, ports are open, services are running publicly. I have seen some servers, web servers, whose SMB is publicly accessible. Ports are open. I have seen that. Not this time. Now it's little bit, the technologies are emerged. So people knows before going to production what all things need to be closed. But in the beginning time and everything, we have seen like SMB, even SMB port was open publicly. So, so we will try to identify which all ports are open for these servers. What are services are running? Is that particular service is having any vulnerability or vulnerability? If it is, which version is using that version is having any vulnerability or not? So these kind of things we will analyze next. What all things we can get? All the vulnerability identification happens at this phase. If we identify a vulnerability, for example, I have identified a vulnerability in SMB. So I know, okay, there is an exploit for this. Next, my step will be exploiting it. I will exploit it. Exploiting is like exploit that vulnerability, exploit a social phishing, exploit whatever it is. Maybe sometimes we will be using some kind of time management system, Jira, or like a Manage Engine, or like Gartner systems, Gartner learning systems. You will be using Corp, Udemy, anything, any website you will be using, but you forgot to change the default password of it. That is a vulnerability actually. Every product comes with a default password, but you forgot to change it. Your IT admin forgot to change it. That is an initial access point to that. So I will try to exploit that. So initial entry point will be different, but definitely there will be one initial point. For finding that is the next, like exploiting it and gaining the access. This is the next step. What happens after gaining the access? Next is maintaining that access. For example, I got access to one machine. Maybe one of the, if there is an Active Directory in the college, I got access to one machine. So what I will do is, like, I got access to that. I will try to maintain that access, and then gaining other intelligences or other machines details from that machine. So next, my step is, once I got access to one machine, my next thought is leveraging my access. Not only stick to one machine, but because what I will do with one machine for 2 weeks? After 2 days, I don't have anything to do in a machine, right? I can get all the data within 2 days. So I don't have anything else to do after 2 days. So if it is connected to an Active Directory, my next step is, from there, how many machines I will be able to access. For which all machines does this user have access to? What is the permission of this user in the servers? Probably if it is a domain admin, or if he is having a local admin, we don't know. So maintaining access, and then from there, I will try to find all other intelligence. What is the DCIP? What is the, I will query the DC. If I query the DC, I will get all the users in AD. So all those kind of hosting happens after the exploitation. Now, next is privilege escalation. I already said I got access to a user, maybe probably a normal user. Then next step is, I gained all the intelligence, or like I gained the DC, I gained the users, I gained the list of domain admins. So my next probability or next thought process will be elevating my current privilege from a normal user to the maximum user, highest user, that is domain admin. If it is an enterprise network, then I will be an enterprise admin. If it is a forest network, then I will be a forest admin, whatever it is. So what is the highest level of user we have? My view will be, an attacker thought process will be reaching the highest user available. So then next is pivoting and lateral movement. I thought, like, I have access to one machine, right? Now I am I have the knowledge of all the other machines that is in the network, almost all the other machines. Now my next is, like, what can I how can I move from one machine to other machine? Because probably I will be logged into a machine of user A. The user A have only access to B, C, D machines. I got access to C, but C have access to all the other machines till Z. So I have a more wider environment for compromising. So this is how the attacks will happen, or like this is how we will leverage. So during red teaming, till this we gave lateral movement, we reached the highest user, we got whatever we need to show in the network or in the web application, whatever it is. Next and final step will be reporting, because we are unauthorized hackers. So we are not supposed to report this anywhere outside the entity. So we will report it properly, that we have done this much, we have done this actions in this machines. We have, sometimes we install scripts, sometimes we download things, sometimes we install things. We need to notify each and everything. At what point of time we have performed this activity, using this in everything, using the screenshot and everything. We will create a clean report, and then we will deliver this to the client. So this is what exactly the life cycle of a pen testing or a teaming activities. So when we come to reconnaissance theory, I told, like, information gathering, as in everything, like when we learn, like, study computer network, we have that there is active connection and passive connection. In everything there is active and passive. Likewise, in reconnaissance also there is active and passive. So usually, if it is a black box or if it is a pure red teaming activity, we will stick to passive one rather than active, because usually what happens, like the entities we will be working in real time, I'm saying, right, in real time, when we are working for an entity, probably they will be well established entities, and they will be having their own blue team inactive. So they will be monitoring the network 24/7. So even if a slight change in the network, they will alert it. So usually what happens is, like, usually we will do a passive thing, which there is no request is going directly to the network or anything. So we will try the maximum through passive only. And active, yes, definitely, once we have almost all the requirements even if after an alert comes up, we can manage the things, then we will go for active. So usually what happens is like there will be, if we are recognizing about a web application, there will be cloud WAF, like web application firewalls will be there, Cloudflare and all. So we will try to find which web application firewall they are using. Is it possible to evade that firewall? Almost some of the firewalls can be easily evaded. So is it really possible to evade that? If it is evaded, if the alert is going, till what gap we have without alert, like how much time they are taking to alert it, all these things we can calculate from that. So firewall evasion, maybe there will be an NDR, network detection, or like an EDR and PER detection. So there are so many controls also for, so tools perspective itself, there will be so many automatic controls in place. So we need to try in each and every step whether we are able to evade these controls also. So if it is a real red teaming, this is the challenges we will face, because when we are performing a real red teaming, other than the CISO management, other than the higher management and the internal IT team, no one else will know that there is an activity happening. So that is a real challenge of SOC will never know. SOC means this blue team will never know, because when we are doing the red teaming, the higher management will be checking the capability of their blue team also, till how much time they are taking to alert that an attack has happened, how they are alerting it, how fast they are. So many things they are also calculating from their perspective also. So these are the challenges usually we face. Now, when it comes to technical reconnaissance, I already said port scanning. Like what are the ports that are open in a particular server? What are the services that are running in that particular ports? What is the version of that services running? For example, if it is an SSH, what is the version of using? If it is an FTP, like FTP is vulnerable, whether it is an FTP or SFTP or VFTP. There are so many types of FTPs, like, and each FTP have different of vulnerabilities. So what kind of services they are running? Is it using Telnet? So many things. So these can be identified from port scanning. And for that, banner grabbing or service enumeration, we uses a well-known tool called Nmap. Network mapping tool. So Nmap is very well known within the pen testers or teamers. This is the very basic tool we use. It will help to find the, for example, hosts that are up in a network, the ports that are open in that particular host, the services that are running on the particular ports, the versions of that particular services. All these initial informations Nmap will help us to identify. Now, information sources, I already told, like DNS records, who is data, Shodan search engine. Shodan is a site where there will be so many informations about vulnerabilities, vulnerable version of endings, and Shodan search engine, social medias, public records. Nowadays, Gemini, ChatGPT, everything gives the information that what we need. So this is a hands-on reconnaissance lab. Let me try if I can show. Show something how we are used to do. Okay. This is VirtualBox, like I have already configured my Kali Linux. So Kali Linux is the Linux version that most of the pen testers use. Why? Because Kali Linux comes with almost all the tools. That is some of the major tools, not almost, some of the major tools or an important tools. It comes with already comes as a pre-build in Kali. So that's why I say like Kali Linux is the most important version or Linux version that almost every pen testers use. Otherwise, you can make your own Kali or your own attack Linux by using Ubuntu, Debian, or whatever the Linux version you like. You can use that. Kali, using Kali is much easier because it comes with already, as I said, all the tools. Then you can add your own tools, and then after 1 or 2 months of rigorous working and studying, you will have your own Kali, which you will be configured with almost everything. So this is a very new Kali of mine. Okay. So if I show you here, you can see what all the steps or life cycle I have said during the initial things. Like you can see all the steps here: reconnaissance, initial access. Excuse me. Any questions?
I think your Kali Linux screen is not visible, or maybe it's very small.
You're muted.
Yeah. I will share once again. Is it fine now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible.
Yeah. So as you can see in my car, if when I said like the Kali Linux comes with almost all the tools.
You're muted, ma'am.
Sorry. So you can see this, like almost all the steps and life cycle that I have already told. You can see here: reconnaissance, initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, and the tools that is used for it. For example, in reconnaissance, what all things you need to know. If it is Wi-Fi, what all things you need to know. If it is web scanning, what all things you need to gather. Bubsuit is a proxy. Dub is like for subdirectories. Derbistry is another subdirectory things. Multigos, Legion. What all things you need a host information gathering things in reconnaissance. So like each step, what all thing, which tools you need to know. I will never say that we use all these things. No, we use some of the tools. Yes, of course, but not everything. But everything that for an initial learning purpose and initial knowledge, Kali Linux comes with it. Everything. So likewise, this comes. So this is my Kali Linux. And when I said, like, for example, this is my, okay, you can see this is my IP of my Kali Linux 10.0215. Likewise, I have set up one Metasploitable. Metasploitable is another OS which is vulnerable OS. For example, for the learning purpose only, you can learn attacking, scanning, all these normal things you can learn from these things. So that for the learning purpose only, we will use this. This is my Metasploitable. Okay, I think this is logged in, but my this is logged in. I don't know whether it is visible or not. I hope it is visible somewhere, right? Because when I make it bigger, it is not clear. That's why. So you can
it's
see
visible.
the IP address of this is 10.02.4. So this is our host IP. So I will be taking this as my victim machine. Like we are going to attack this machine 10.0.24. So what will be the initial thing like is like 10.0.24, right? So we will be going to our and 215. So first thing I will do is like I will try whether I do have an access in this or a particular.
Is that 10.2. Is it your Metasploit IP?
Yes, metasploitable IP. Okay, but don't like that is our victim IP. We can keep it as like so. Right now we are taking metasploitable machine as our victim. So we are going to attack that machine, or that is our target machine, and this is our attack machine. Like we are going to attack from this machine. Our Kali is our war machine. We used to say our war machine. Okay, so our target machine is our metasploitable. First thing I will be like now before starting this. Don't compare this as a real-time scenario. When we are in real-time scenario, our first hurdle is to connect to the internal network. If it is a networking assessment, so connect to an internet network itself is a hazard. Like for example, it will be having a NAC, network access control will be there. So we need to find a way first to bypass that NAC control, and then add this attack machine should be in their network first. So how we will do that? We will try to get into that premises. Getting into the premises is our first step. Sometimes the security can block us. If it is a pure red teaming, I'm talking about pure red teaming. Okay, if it is a pure red teaming, then we need to bypass the security first. There will be strict security. There will be access controls. So we need to tailgate with someone, or we need to talk with someone and then try to go with him inside, or leverages the access. Like for example, sometimes there is a smoking rooms which is very near to the door, but they from the smoking area you can enter inside. Like there will be a bypassable area. So many bypassable areas we need to find first. So getting into the premises, then identifying whether an open port is there, LAN port is there. If no LAN port is there, then our attack scenario changes from Ethernet to Wi-Fi. That's what I'm talking about. So initial access itself is a hazard. So our attack scenario starts from the initial access. Then once we are connected our machine using the Ethernet cable to the LAN, then probably it will be NAC protected. Network access controls will be there. Our machine won't be detected. Probably they will be binded with a MAC address. Only the particular MAC machines with the particular MAC addresses can connect to that network. Then what we will do? Then we will search for some unlocked systems. That's why we say whenever we leave our computer which is connected to domain, we should always lock and go. That we used to say, right? This is why, because if there is any unlocked machine, if there is any printers, if there is any smart TVs connected to the network which is unlocked, we will search for these kind of things. We will search for these kind of things, and we will try to find what IP is it, what is the MAC address of that machine. Then we will try to spoof into that machine. Like for example, we will turn our system into that MAC, and then we connect. So like this is only one method of what we say, bypassing the NAC. Okay, we will bypass the NAC. Now think about a scenario that I have bypassed the NAC. Now I am in their network. Next, what I will do, I will scan the entire network to identify which all hosts are up. What all machines, machines are up, which all machines we can identify as a target. So likewise, I have scanned the entire network and I have identified there are thousands of devices connected to that network. Now think of a scenario, okay, I'm targeting one machine on that. And that can be considered as this machine in this scenario. Okay. So if first machine, then I will check, okay, whether I can reach that machine. So from here, I can reach that machine. If I can reach that machine, my next step will be, I will try to find what all things, what all ports are open in that machine, what all versions are, what are versions of services are running on it, on these things. This is the map, this thing I told, Nmap. So Nmap, I told, it's a network mapping tool. So it identifies the TCP and UDP ports. If I am not specifying the port, we have a range of 65,355 ports, right? Sorry, ports. Out of that, if I'm not specifying the number of ports, it will only scan for non-1000 ports, we will say. Non-1000 means well-known 1000 ports. It's not 1 to 1000, well-known 1000 ports. There are 1000 ports which always everyone uses for same service everywhere. For example, SMB 445, HTTPS 443, HTTP 80, 8081, 33064 for MySQL, and RDP. There are so many non-ports. Okay, these are well-known ports. So if we are not specifying, particular port range, or like I need to scan from 1 to 1000, I need to scan for 0 to 65,535, or like we are not specifying the range, then it will only scan for non-ports, 1000 ports. How it will scan? And for example, it gave me this response. You can see, for example, in port 21, it is saying there is a service called FTP is running. It is open. That port is open. FTP is running. And the version is VSFTPD 2.3.4. So this is giving me the information like this. In port 22, it is having SSH. It is an open SSH. 23, it is having a telnet. It is a Linux telnet. So likewise, this is giving me. Now, how this is giving? For this, Nmap is using the very basic concept of our networking. For example, if it is a TCP port, it is relying on three-way handshake. For example, a client request goes, and a client there comes a client hello goes, and then comes a server hello. If a server hello comes, means it is open. That port is open. For example, it will send a hello to port 21. If it is receiving a response, that means that port is open. If it is not getting a response, that means that a port is closed. This is how Nmap will identify the open and closed ports. But what if it is a UDP? Because UDP never respond, right? UDP is like a broadcasting channel. So how it will notify? Same concept. If it is not getting any response, then in UDP, it is an open port. But if it is getting a failed message, then it is a closed port. So likewise, that is why every tool is working on the basic knowledge, or like basic concepts of computer science. So that's why we say that whenever we are in cybersecurity, the basic knowledge or basic should be so strong. Our base should be so strong, then we can learn anything in cybersecurity. If we are lacking something on the base, then it will become a struggle for anyone. So if our base is strong, it's easy to learn things. So here I am saying, okay, 21, I have an FTP, which is VSFTPD 2.3.4. And definitely VSFTPD 2.3.4 will be having a vulnerability. It is having a vulnerability. Now, from here, in real scenario, we will never get this VSFTPD and all. This is a learning purpose. That's why it's having so many open ports. Then what we will use, we will have an exploit. Then we will exploit the vulnerability, and when we will get access to it. For exploiting, there is another tool called Metasploit Framework, MSF. MSF is a tool that comes with so many exploits and auxiliaries, payloads, and everything that we need to launch an exploit. It comes with this Metasploit framework comes with this. So So in this, if I search VSFTPD, we can see these are the available modules in MSF, that is exploits, that can exploit the VSFTPD. These are the available ones. You can see one is auxiliary and one is exploit. Auxiliary is nothing then like a check. For example, we need to check whether that vulnerability is there or not. Just to check whether there is or not. That is auxiliaries do. Exploit is nothing. If there is a vulnerability, if it can be exploited, it will exploit it and get us the access to that machine. Some exploits help us to get back the access. Some machine help us to, destroy that machine. So we should be so careful in using the exploits that we are using. If we use some exploit, that entire machine can go down, or like we can take down that entire machine. So we should be always so careful the exploit that we are using, or we should be well known about what we are going to do with that machine. So this should be there. In VSFTPD, it is nothing that it is exploiting the VSFTPD exploit, and it will create a shell with that particular machine that will give us a shell or like a back connection that we can execute command in that shell. That is that machine, our target machine. So I'm going to use this first, exploit. Now I am using this FTP, VSFTPD, this backdoor. What all things I need to set? You can see R host. C host is not required. R host means remote host. That is our target. So our target is 10.02.4. That is our metasploitable. I have done this and I run the exploit. I got. You can see in 10.0.24 at the port 21, I am a root user in that. So now I have a shell, that too as a root in that particular shell. The exploit was success and I got an access. So if I do an if config here, you can see the address is 10.0.24. This is not in the real life, but I'm just showing these are the steps that we do for the exploit, and this is how it works. Okay, so this is how the port scanning, the banner grabbing, all these things will happen. Whatever I showed you was based on the networks. This won't be the same vulnerabilities than when we are dealing with web application. When we are dealing with web application, the vulnerability spectrum itself is different. It will be SQL injection, it will be cross-site scripting, it can be anything, broken authentication, default use credentials, session management flows, direct browsing, IDORs, a numerous number of vulnerabilities. So when it is considering the web, the vulnerabilities are different. When it comes to network, the vulnerabilities are different. When it goes to mobile, then again our vulnerabilities are different. Now when it comes to cloud, the vulnerabilities are different. When it goes to OT, vulnerabilities are different. And when it comes to LLM, large language models and AI, again the vulnerabilities and the attack way itself is different. So according to the vulnerabilities, our attack scenarios is different, attacking ways are different, the tools we use are different, or like the manual thought process we need is different. So when the target is getting different, our way also, or like the path will also get differ from one to one. So I already chain methodology, I already told that initial foothold, then maintaining access, then privilege escalation, then leveraging it. So documentation, I already, this also I mentioned, like how we will do the step-by-step attack methodology, tools and commands used. I already told you at what time, which tool was used, what commands was executed, what manual script, because nowadays almost all the entities comes with already patched machines. So we will, the tools are like half successful. Then we need to leverage our own exploits. We need to write our own exploits. We need to build our own concepts. We need to manually create an attack scenario path. So many things. So whatever we do, we should properly document it and give it to the client. Why? Because maybe we are doing an activity. A real attack is happening parallelly. So that should not miss at the miss only because we were doing an exercise here. So we should be clear in our like way, or whatever we have done, we should be way clear what we have done through our assessment, or which machines we have assessed, what were our attacker IP, our war machine IP, what was it, and all those stuff we need to specify it in the report. So these are the this was for students, but I will say, if teachers, if you people want to, like, if all of the teachers want to explore more about cybersecurity, then Cybrary is a very good option. It's an online platform that we can learn so many of online courses. Cybrary, Udemy also helps, and if you want to really try hacking things, or like slowly try some commands and everything, then try Hack Me, this Hack the Box, everything is a good platform for that. Yeah, so that's it. I have only prepared that much, and whatever the questions, we can have an open discussion, or like whatever I know, up to my knowledge, I can share whatever I know. If there is any questions and everything, and I'm open for a discussion now. Before moving that, I can share some real-time experience or real work. We have very interesting scenarios that I have faced was like for example, we have hacked into a very secure organization through their SharePoint, and we were able to access the salary of almost all the employees. We were able to access all the identification documents, PII documents of all the employees, their phone numbers, their vehicle numbers, their license, everything was compromised from the web application. And other than that, from internal perspective, we were able to crack into internal is always a domain admin. So whenever we go, we will find a way to be a domain admin. And we were able to create our own user as a domain admin. And there are some cases we won't find a way to get enter or anywhere where the humans will help us. For example, one day I was trying hard to get the MAC address of a printer, and I was not able to get it. Immediately there was a guy who's an IT support guy, or himself. He himself came and logged in for me and showed me the MAC address and IP addresses. He was asking, like, what are you doing? I said, I was just trying to log in. He just logged in for me, even without he knows like who am I or anything like that. So there are human errors, because you should always share the knowledge whom you are intended to. And whenever you are sharing some knowledge, you should know whether that person is authorized to know that knowledge. So knowledge sharing is also an important part of these things. Yeah, I'm open for discussions. I can see some messages coming in chat.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, I want to ask a few questions, ma'am. I have solved a few rooms, try Hack Me, and some machines in Hack the Box. But
Nice.
I want to ask some question regarding, for example, if I want to hack your system, ma'am. So both systems are, my system and your systems are connected with different public address. So how it is possible, ma'am? Is it possible to hack your system? Because my public address is IP address is different. Your public IP address is different. We are not connected with the same network.
If I'm published to public, like for example, you know my public IP address, and if you have access to that public IP address, if I have a vulnerabilities, if you are scanning, access it can be done. But the issue is, public IP is not static. It keeps on changing. So you won't get that connection at any time. Even if you are not, trust me, you are in a different entire network. That is, a public servers can be hacked, not a personal laptop. Even a personal laptop, then it will be a different kind of that. You have heard about sending links, you know, something will be downloaded to your machine, then you will have a persistent access. But the real
Ma'am, the private IP address will be changed. I mean, if it is in
every
DHCP mode,
time it will change. That's the issue. Yeah.
public IP address also will be changed.
Yeah, it will change. Public IP addresses will be changed. Like always, it won't be static. That's why servers are most like we only attacking the servers is easy, because most of the time the servers IP will be static. But our machines, like whenever we reboot the router, it will change.
And one more thing, ma'am.
Yeah.
Actually, I hacked my system because in my system VMware is there. So I have installed installed multiple operating system like Windows 7, Windows 10. So whenever I used to off the antivirus, then only I can hack the system, my system. Okay. So how to bypass the antivirus, ma'am? Is there any bypass the antivirus? That's the only issue, ma'am.
Actually, the thing is like that's because the antivirus tags our tools as like virus. So that is the one issue. So that's why you won't be able to do anything. Even if you download any sample ICAR file itself, it will detect as a virus itself. So it won't. The next thing is like you can evade antivirus, but I can't teach you that. There are methods to evasion. Antivirus as well as the EDRs, anything can be evaded if it is not that strongly configured. It can.
Okay,
there are
madam.
evasion methods.
Thank you very much.
You can just search antivirus evasion techniques. You will get. There are so many videos, or like so many learning materials for that.
ChatGPT also won't help, ma'am. Whenever we use
ChatGPT won't help, but there is something else, but I can't name it here, man. Sorry.
Please, ma'am, because I want to learn some, ethical way only. In ethical way only.
You can connect with me in my LinkedIn. I can help you there. Not on a public platform. I'm really sorry. You can connect with me in my LinkedIn. I will connect you back. I will reply to you back.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
No worries. How is offensive security maintained against evolving threats such as AI and ransomware while accurately identifying real vulnerabilities? Trust me, ransomware is a different thing. AI, we are still learning because malicious prompts is like we are right now. I'm learning about malicious prompts, curating malicious prompts, and AI configuration and everything. We have been started to testing like long before, because AI is there from 2000. Like I have been testing AI configuration part from 2019 to 19 or 20. So it's there from there. There are two types, like for example, there are inbuilt AIs in on-prem AIs, which they won't keep on learning. They will be stuck. Like for example, whatever the learning we need for that, you have seen some chatbots in some applications, right? Or like you will, if you ask something, they will respond to your questions. But if you go beyond that, it won't give you anything. That are like the learning has been entered. So that has been testing before. Now what it is like, it is generative AIs. For example, it have a learning, continuous learning and everything. Right now, I am in the process of learning this, curating this malicious prompts actually. Prompt engineering itself is a different area. So we need to learn how proper prompts work. Then only we can curate malicious prompts. How malicious prompts gives more data from the backend. Is it really generating the data which is intended? For example, right now, Mohammed has asked me one question. ChatGPT is not helping, but we can pick the ChatGPT in curating a different way. It will give the same answer what we need. So that is also possible. That is known as malicious prompting. I'm not saying ChatGPT will work, but I'm saying that's the way. If it is not intended to give something, it should not give. The studies are going on. We have some checklists and everything. it is still like, so when offensive security, that's what I said, like everyone thinks like when AI comes, the jobs will be reduced. No, when AI comes, the job pressure or the load will be reduced, but still the job will be there, or the offensive security actions or testing will be there, because we need to test AI itself. Who will test AI then? Most of the applications are now generated by AI. Who is testing that applications? So still it is generating an application by AI, testing by AI. No, it will take a long time to, even after that, we will never be able to. Still now there is no AI that has been considered as, okay, it is same as a human thinking or anything, nothing like that. So we are in continuous process of studying and leveraging the AI into this, and how we can use AI for our testing purpose. How can we make our life simpler, or like the testing process simpler? All these things we are using. Otherwise, it's creating a lot of false positives. Yes, Devan Kumar.
Hello, ma'am. So my
Hi.
question is that suppose there is some system like IDS, IPS, or maybe some firewall configured properly, and we will try
Yeah.
to use Nmap for scanning that particular system or server. We're able to respond properly, or based on the rules, it will may behave differently. I mean, result will be affected based on this, or we'll get the same answer for all kind of, you can say that scenario based on the command which
No,
we
no.
give.
No, it will act differently. That is why what I said. Sometimes now, even if we have IDS and IPS, and sometimes people create honeypots as well. So we will never get to know, like sometimes it won't give you anything. It will show you as an open port, as a closed. There are so many things, but that's why I said initial gathering is very important. So in initial gathering, we will try hard to get to know the network, that whether there is an IDS or whether there is an IPS, or whether there is an EDR in their machines. Is there power, for example, their CMD is blocked, or what, command execution won't work. So these things we will try the maximum to get to know about the network. But if it is not, then we will start, if we are not getting in the real-time scenarios, is like it will be a time framed actions. For example, we will only have 1 month or like 3 weeks in an entity. So try for first 3 days. If we get to know the IDS or IPS, if there is an IDS or IPS, we will try to whether it can be what we say, bypassed or not, evade or not, exfil. If that also not possible, we will never waste the time. We will directly ask the client itself if there are any IDS or IPS. Then we try to evade it. If we are not able to identify which IDS or IPS is that, that's actually I'm telling about real-time corporate job. But otherwise, we will try the maximum to find. Because usually I have seen, if there is a proper NDR, the result we will be getting will be different. But usually what happens now in companies, in the internal communication, they fail to keep the proper NDR configured. Internal, in egress, they will be kept, like from the outside world to internal, and internal to outside, they will be keeping it properly. But once we are in internal network, this doesn't work. So that's also an issue.
Thank you, ma'am. One more thing.
Yeah.
For example, as a part of college, if I want to find out the vulnerabilities in my college website, right? So many of times I have tried with some different tools, OpenVAS and other open source tools, right? But it won't give me the result in sufficient enough of time because of lack of resources, or you can say network speed.
Yeah.
Can you give any idea or suggestions based on, I mean, which other tools can help me to find out the vulnerability of any web application which I want to scan legal purpose on?
Web application you want, or what, network?
Web application, yeah, web application vulnerabilities.
Web application scanning, you can use Nikto will be there in Kali. If you can search with the Nikto, or else this for example, OpenVAS didn't give you anything. Little bit only they will give.
Sometimes it will take time to scan the and I'm not getting it. I mean, because of network, as I said, lack of resources and network speed, we won't get the result, and that is what I face the difficulty. So, is there any tool which
Actually,
will run?
automated scanning will take time. Even if I say burp suit, it's a commercial version, to be honest. In the community version or free version, there is no scanning capability for burp suit. Little bit of faster is burp suit, but it's commercial version only supports scanning. But other than that, Nikto is little bit faster, but Nikto can give you the technology, the vulnerabilities currently within the web application. Somewhere Nikto will help. Nikto, that is there in Kali. It will give you somewhere. But other than that, it's web application is really a manual work. Trust me, it's really a manual work. You need to learn about web application, and you need to literally intercept it and learn about each and every request and responses.
I think Bubsuit also we can use for this web application. Bubsuit, Acunetics,
Bubsuit can
Tenable.
only be used. All are commercial. Whatever you said right now is commercial, not open source. Bubsuit is a community edition is free, but it won't support scanning the application automatically. It will only help you to intercept the traffic, and you need to do it manually.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other?
Madam, Sri Lakshmi, thank you
Yes, sir.
for your good lecture.
Thank you,
Actually,
sir.
for the data center, which version of Linux most secure, madam? For the data
Linux?
center- yes.
Linux, I will say, if you are looking for a very strong Linux, I will definitely say Rocky Linux because it's a hardened version. Other than you can go with the Ubuntu. Yeah, Ubuntu, the latest version you can go with. But whatever the version you are using, it's at the point of time, it will be, you need a proper updating and patching in process. That's like, we will never say that this version is very secure. No. Next day, the vulnerability will come. So proper patching and continuous patching is must for any, not only DC, any service. A patching technology should be there, even for Windows servers.
That we are doing, a separate team is there. But
Yeah.
still, you're right, actually, zero to security, something coming on the day itself, actually. That's the
No.
problem.
0 days can come at any time. So that's why continuous patching and every time patching should be there. We should not lack from that. But right now, if we are creating a new one, then go for the latest version which is available. I will go with Rocky Linux is good. It's a hardened one. But the problem is like Rocky Linux won't support to so many other things. So
All
supporting issues.
versions are free, madam? All versions are free, or any license version
No,
is
no.
there?
For Rocky Linux, I don't think there is a licensed version. But the problem is, for example, Rocky Linux won't support the latest version of
Actually,
PHP.
government department, they are ready to pay money also. There is not an issue, actually.
And then I will prefer Ubuntu only. Ubuntu is fine, or Red Hat is fine. If they are paying, then go with Red Hat only. RHEL, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Best firewall, I will say anything that is next gen firewalls you can go with. 45 will be good. Other than that, I can't name any company name or anything, because if you ask an offensive security person, I will never admit if anything is good. That's my issue. So we can't take a name. But I think anything that supports next gen will be good.
Dear participants, if you have any further queries, please use this platform. Either you can unmute your mic or you can post your queries in chat box. If If don't have any further queries, I think we can wind up the session.
Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity, as well as thank you so much for listening to me for the past 1 hour without any break or anything. I know I was so so fast, but thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you so much for all the questions you have asked. And I hope I was able to clear us up to my knowledge. And thank you so much once again.
So, as we wrap up today's exciting session on offensive security, let me take this opportunity to extend a heartfelt thanks to Ms. Sri Lakshmi Pallil for sharing her immense knowledge and practical insights. Sri Lakshmi provided a comprehensive and practical understanding of offensive security. She explained red teaming and penetration testing and guided us through the life cycle, from the information gathering phase to initial access, exploitation, lateral movement, privilege escalation, and detailed reporting. She also introduced the roles of red, blue, purple, and forensic teams, helping us understand how offensive and defensive strategies work together to safeguard the systems. The session included demonstrations of industry standard tools like Kali Linux, Nmap, and Metasploit, showing how vulnerabilities can be identified and safely exploited in ethical hacking exercises. Ms. Sri Lakshmi also emphasized real-world strategies like social engineering, red team practices, and ethical consideration, providing a valuable connection between theory and corporate practice. Once again, a heartfelt thanks to Ms. Sri Lakshmi Pallil for sharing your expertise and valuable insights with us. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to thank all the participants for your active involvement and interest. Your presence and interactions made today's session truly meaningful. Thank you, dear participants. Thank you, Sri Lakshmi ma'am. And dear participants, the feedback link for the session 1 and session 2 is posted in chat box. So kindly fill it as early as possible. Then we know that tomorrow we are moving to the last day of our FDP, 6-day online ADL FDP. And tomorrow we have 3 sessions, and the session will start from 2 onwards. Please note the time. The session will start from 2 onwards. From the time 2 to 3:30, we have the first session on blockchain. 2 to 3:30. 3:30 to 5, we have the second session on red team versus blue team. And on the last session, that's from 5 to 6:30. So please be with us at 2 o'clock itself. And one more thing, I would like to mention you about this reflection journal. So as per the instructions from the ADL, a reflection journal from each participant is required. A reflection journal is, as you know, it's a brief record where participants capture what are the key learnings, insights, lessons, and implementation that they capture from this FDP. So the format for the reflection journal is shared in our group. So kindly prepare according to that, make it as a PDF and upload in the shared Google form. So that's all about the reflection journal. So that's all for today. Signing off day 5. Good night, everyone. For the deadline for the reflection journal, you can upload it till Sunday 2 p.m.
Madam, when we can take the test actually?
Tests will be after the 3rd session on tomorrow, sir. That's from after 6:30. We will post the test link for the test in chat box.
Normally, madam, between 6:30 to 8, heavy load, if everybody accessing, it was very slow actually normally, because other FDPs we tried. So we can try even late hours.
So what's your preferred time, sir?
Actually, madam, so many of these we attended actually through this.
Yeah.
At the same time, everybody logged in by 6:30. Even single question is coming very slow actually. That is my experience. I'm just sharing with you actually. So can we
Okay.
try a little bit late, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something like that, so that we can easily, anyway, totally half an hour only test actually. That we
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
you know,
Anyway, we will take into your suggestion, sir.
Okay,
Let's have a discussion with the team and we will let you know the
yes,
exact
try to
time
check
for
with your
the
HOD,
group, sir.
HOD or something like that, rather
Yeah,
phone
yeah, yeah.
number, and come back to us, please.
Yeah, yeah, sure. We will inform it on the our
Yes.
group, sir.
This is my experience actually.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, sir.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Last time also I faced the same problem. It was getting very huge traffic. We are unable to open each question also. So please take care of tomorrow exam, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Either we will extend the time duration for the test link to be live, or
Okay.
we will reschedule it to some late hours, like Ganapati sir mentioned. We will
Yes, sir.
reschedule it to 8 to 9 o'clock.
Sure.
Otherwise, we will give more duration for the test link to be live.
Yeah,
We will,
please,
we
ma'am.
will
Thank you.
consider
Thank you
this
very much.
issue. Surely, we
Thank you
will
very much.
consider this issue and we will have a discussion within our team and we'll let you know through the WhatsApp group, sir.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Kindly send the link for the session because
Sorry, ma'am.
Ma'am, what time we will be having the exam, ma'am?
As per the current schedule, we are planning it as on 6:30. That's after the third session on tomorrow.
Okay.
So that is expected to be wind up by 6:30. So what was our plan is to share the test link by that time. But because since we got some suggestions from the participant side, I will let you know through the WhatsApp what is actually the time. Either it's 6:30 to some duration extended. The link live duration will be extended, or we can postpone it to 8 or 9 p.m. Sir, that things we will
Okay.
let you know through the.
Okay. What will be the session time, ma'am, tomorrow?
Tomorrow, the first session will start from 2 p.m.
2
That's
p.m.
about
Okay.
blockchain. 2 to 3:30 p.m. Blockchain. That's handled by a professor from the CUSAT. The
Okay.
second session will be start from again 5 to 6:30, and that's about red team versus blue team.
Okay.
And the last session is from 3:30 to 5 to 6:30, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so that will be the final session on
Okay.
tomorrow.
So
So
2 to 3:30 one session, then after that 5:30 to 6:30.
yeah, no,
Okay.
2:30, sorry, 2 to 3:30 first session,
Okay.
3:30 to 5 second session, 5 to 6:30 third session.
Another session. Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
3 continuous session, and we are probably giving 5 or 10 minutes break between these sessions.
Okay. Okay.
And that is actually the schedule which is provided by the ADAL.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you.
The questions, about the questions, we have 25 MCQs, and all the questions will be based on the sessions which we have covered all together on these 6 days. For the references of all these things, we have posted in our chat group. So you can refer to that if needed. And also the video links for the previous days were also shared in the WhatsApp group. Hope it's clear, Sukanya ma'am. Yeah, well, all sessions will be wind up by tomorrow, ma'am. But we are providing the time for uploading the reflection journal by Sunday 2 p.m. So I think you can manage in between that. Okay, thank you, Sukanya ma'am. For that time is enough to complete. It's you need to upload it by Sunday 2 p.m. ma'am. So I think it's enough time to manage with you to upload this reference journal. So that's all for today, dear participants. If no more queries regarding the examination on tomorrow, or if you don't have any queries regarding the completion of regarding the uploading of reflection journal, I think we can wind up today's session. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night.